Also tonight, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs accused of sex trafficking and sexual assault in a lawsuit filed in federal court here in New York.
New lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, bringing some serious claims against the music mogul, brought by his former longtime girlfriend.
Puffy might be the destination for anybody who's going nowhere. Nobody survived.
Diddy's world isn't just crumbling, it's on fire, and there's no soft landing in sight. 50 Cent isn't negotiating. He's hunting. Recently, he resurfaced a video exposing how Diddy allegedly abused Cassie, a record few even remembered existed. But this isn't just old gossip. This is a history of predatory behavior, stretching from boardrooms to Connecticut studios. According to longtime industry patterns, Diddy's rise wasn't just about music. It was about control, manipulation, and collateral. In this video, we'll dissect every piece of evidence, examine the odds stacked against brother love, and ask the crucial question: is there any path for Diddy to emerge unscathed? The stakes are as high as his empire once was, and the truth is merciless. If you know the shadow history of Diddy, the infamous 3 a.m. video isn't just a scandal, it's the endpoint of a decade-spanning pattern. Cassie's escape from that nightmare wasn't luck. It was awareness. Psychologically, victims respond to manipulation in ways outsiders can't fathom. Promises of stardom, power, and opportunity are chains disguised as freedom. Data from early 90s industry accounts show that Diddy used these contracts as leverage, controlling women like Cassie and Joy Dickerson-Neal under the pretext of career advancement. She alleges spiked drinks, assault, and filmed encounters, claims corroborated by witnesses like Devontae Swing of the R&B group 112. Critics may argue that these are unprovable allegations, but the pattern is surgical, consistent, and damning. This is what happens when ambition meets unrestrained power.
That girl went through some tumultuous shit that she never thought that she would ever have to go through being in the music business. Do you understand that?
The story darkens. Cassie alleges that Diddy forced her to orchestrate encounters with male escorts, drugging her before filming everything, a direct echo of past abuses. Here, 50 Cent's role becomes pivotal. He saw tapes that would have destroyed Diddy, a man the world often crowns untouchable. This resonates because it reveals a system where images aren't memories. They're weapons. For the first time, a pattern emerges: the use of coercion, manipulation, and blackmail as industry currency. Calmly, analytically, one can see why 50's intervention wasn't optional. It was survival for Cassie. And this isn't theory. This is documented, from radio interviews in 2010 to insider testimony.
Talking with this girl, like, you really, like, you like her like that? And he was like, yeah, that's my girl. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna send you something. You look at it, you call me.
When 50 Cent confronted Diddy with the images, Diddy couldn't claim ignorance. This was no accident. It was collateral. Psychologically, controlling someone through shame and exposure is an old playbook, but few in the public eye have wielded it as ruthlessly. That moment, when 50 recognized the extent of Diddy's manipulation, marked the beginning of a feud not about music, but morality and power. This is where calculated observation meets the instinct to act, and the consequences ripple through every industry relationship Diddy has touched since.
Stop. Then he was like, so when we gonna get the chance to, to kick it, like, we can just hang out? Then he was like, why don't we, like, go shopping? I mean, like, I pay for it. And I was like, this just saying.
Consider this. If Rick Ross were in Diddy's orbit, he might have shrugged off similar revelations. But 50 Cent isn't like the rest. He sees danger for the vulnerable. Images alone confirmed the collapse of any authentic relationship between Diddy and Cassie. And the signs were public. IG posts hinting at fear. Images of Cassie hiding under sheets. At a human level, it lands because it's not just scandal. It's a blueprint of control, a map of abuse made visible to anyone who cares to look.
What you gotta say now? What you gotta say now? You ain't got shit to say.
Skeptics will argue that these moments are circumstantial, but patterns don't lie. Look at the history. Lovers before Cassie, the mother of his children, Kim Porter, documented manipulation, violence, and psychological coercion. Analytical scrutiny shows a man leveraging fame, wealth, and access as instruments of domination. This isn't speculation. It's a structural pattern spanning decades, and it frames Diddy as a master of manufactured consent and predatory charm.
Hey, what's up, y'all? We interrupt your browsing for this emergency announcement. This is my girl, Kim, my lovely girlfriend, KP, Kim Porter.
Imagine 2005. Diddy and Kim Porter, a decade-long on-again, off-again relationship, become a case study in calculated cruelty. A rumor prompts Diddy to lure Kim to St. Tropez under false pretenses. A vacation turned battlefield. By dawn, she's beaten, her nose shattered. A specialist surgeon flies in to erase the evidence. Industry archives and surviving images hint at a cleanup operation. Most traces online are scrubbed. At a human level, this resonates because it shows how fame can shield abuse, rewriting history in real time. And this pattern foreshadows every later allegation. Cassie, Misa Hilton, and beyond.
Then you hear about the fact that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht?
Wow, I didn't hear about that.
He broke Kim, let's say allegedly, but it was told by people in her camp that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht.
Mark Curry, former bad boy artist, corroborates the nightmare Kim endured. He witnessed repeated violence, repeated abuse, and the manipulation of power over intimacy. Critics might dismiss him as motivated by disputes over publishing rights, but the pattern is independent of any single conflict. This resonates because systemic abuse rarely relies on one witness. It manifests repeatedly across victims, time, and relationships.
Speaking of Kim Porter, because you knew Kim Porter, is it true that Diddy broke her nose?
Bust the nose, man.
Many of Diddy's defenders claim Mark Curry's testimony is motivated by a feud over publishing rights, trying to frame it as a personal vendetta rather than a reflection of reality. But the truth is far more systemic. Almost every artist, collaborator, or insider who crossed paths with Diddy encountered the same toxic combination of manipulation, surveillance, and intimidation. This wasn't a one-off conflict. It was a method. Wiretapping phones, installing taps in homes, monitoring conversations. These are not eccentricities of a demanding boss. They are the behavioral patterns of someone who views control as a currency and privacy as a threat. Psychologically, anyone who obsessively tracks a partner's or employee's every word is signaling a deep pathology. The need to dominate, preempt, and weaponize trust. Consider the historical context. From the early days of Bad Boy Records, reports suggest Diddy frequently leveraged personal secrets, scandals, and private moments to enforce compliance. Artists like Kim Porter and Cassie weren't just romantic partners. They were individuals trapped in a system where refusal meant career sabotage, exposure, or blackmail. Mark Curry's observations are corroborated by multiple witnesses who saw the same manipulative behaviors repeated, across decades, across different victims. In fact, patterns emerge so consistently that they can be analyzed almost like data points. If Diddy wanted something, a person, loyalty, or silence, he didn't negotiate. He engineered leverage. And the implications go beyond isolated incidents. This is a cautionary tale about how power functions in industries where fame, access, and influence are intertwined. Victims, whether they are artists or romantic partners, face structural coercion, where ambition itself becomes a trap. This resonates on a human level because it's not just about individual failings. It's about the systems that allow predators to operate unchecked. Even now, decades later, these behaviors ripple outward, shaping perceptions.
Former model and longtime girlfriend of entertainer Sean Diddy Combs, Kim Porter, was laid to rest yesterday in her hometown of Columbus, Georgia. Funeral taking place at Cascade Hills Church. Porter leaves behind 3 children with Combs and an older son by singer Al B. Shore.
When Kim Porter died, public suspicion immediately targeted Diddy. Autopsy reports, however, confirmed pneumonia. But fear doesn't always wait for facts. Allegedly, Kim was writing a tell-all exposing decades of manipulation, betrayals, and the private side of Diddy's empire. At a systemic level, this story resonates because it shows how truth and perception collide, and how even absent foul play, the shadow of abuse persists.
It was alleged that she did have a book and that her book was about to come out. And she was talking about all the perils, everything that she went through in the music business and with Diddy.
Kim's book promised to be explosive. Revelations about Diddy's alleged manipulation of partners, hidden relationships, and disturbing sexual behaviors. Critics may scoff at settlements like Cassie's $30 million payout, but the men's accounts, corroborated by insiders, add credibility. This is what's really happening. A man leveraging talent, fame, and secrecy as tools of domination. The lesson is stark. Influence and coercion thrive when accountability is deferred.
He tried it on me, so I know it's true. I got a phone call in the middle of the night, about 2:30 in the morning. It was, my wife says, pick up the phone. It was an unknown number.
Columbus Short's story mirrors countless others. Diddy allegedly crossing the line, forcing participation in acts against will. At a structural level, this shows the power dynamics of the industry. Supply and demand, desire and leverage, fear and compliance. Real versus manufactured, authentic versus performative. And the consequences fall on those who cannot resist the system.
Hey man, we didn't see what the BET Awards, you know, what you doing? I'm in bed with my wife. He said, I'm at the Beverly Hills Hilton, the Beverly Hills Hotel. I said, what's up? I said, who over there? He said, just me.
Even in high-profile spaces like a Beverly Hills hotel suite, Diddy's alleged patterns persisted. Reports suggest that power and sexuality became instruments of coercion, involving artists like Ja Rule. Industry insiders describe a system where refusing participation risks career, reputation, or personal safety. Here, the metaphor of war is literal. The bedroom becomes battlefield, influence becomes weapon, silence becomes survival.
Next thing you know, somebody rang the doorbell. We had the presidential suite where we was at. So I opened the door and the dude said, yo, I'm here for my cousin. I said, who your cousin? And he said, Ja Rule.
In this incident, a bodyguard forcibly restrained a cousin on a piano to enforce access or prevent interference. A moment that highlights how violence operates in tandem with influence. Shock gives way to analysis. Power in the music industry isn't only about contracts or labels. It's about fear, control, and signals to others who might challenge authority.
When I threw him into the piano, Puff and Ja Rule runs out the room. Puff got his towel, Ja grabbing his towel, but they butt the naked.
The line between consent and coercion blurs under fame. Ja Rule later hints at the encounter's nature. A sexual experiment shrouded in secrecy, performed under duress. At a human level, this lands because it illustrates how even those with proximity to power are trapped by its demands. The moral calculus is stark. Escape or comply, freedom or career.
Yo, Ja said, you ain't want to go in that room, because there's a lot of freaking going on.
This isn't just about the women in Diddy's orbit. Multiple men in the industry have alleged similar coercion, painting a portrait of power wielded without boundaries. Columbus Short, among others, has described encounters where compliance wasn't a choice but a requirement, a brutal demonstration of how influence and desire can be weaponized. Psychologically, this resonates because it exposes a dynamic that's hidden in plain sight. When someone controls access to careers, resources, or survival in a highly competitive industry, they don't just command respect, they command obedience. Data from insider accounts and interviews suggests a repeated pattern. Men and women alike subjected to situations they would never have consented to, guided by fear, leverage, or the promise of advancement. At a human level, this is terrifying because it reframes ambition itself as a trap. People enter the music industry with talent and dreams, only to find themselves negotiating not contracts but morality, their own integrity against the demands of power. And Diddy, according to multiple sources, didn't just cross boundaries. He engineered them, creating circumstances where the line between choice and coercion disappeared. Now, critics may argue that this is anecdotal, that personal grievances cloud testimony, or that these are isolated incidents. But that argument collapses when you examine decades of consistent patterns, when the same behaviors resurface across victims, across genders, across eras. This isn't coincidence. It's methodology. Strategically, what's most alarming is the reach of this behavior. It's not limited to bedrooms or private suites. It reverberates through careers, shaping who succeeds, who fails, and who is silenced. People who were young, ambitious, or dependent on access became collateral in a system where power was both shield and weapon. Real versus fake, authentic versus manufactured. In Diddy's world, appearances mattered, but control mattered more.
And we were on our way to the island of women. You understand? And this is all it was, bruh. For whatever reason, dude was playing with Puff. He went behind him and grabbed his trunks and pulled them down.
Even amidst the East Coast-West Coast conflicts and a culture rife with homophobia, Diddy's alleged sexual behavior and secrecy created leverage and risk. Public perception, street credibility, and business interests collide with identity, rumor, and taboo. Calmly analyzing this, it becomes clear that strategic silence and ambiguity about sexuality have long been weapons, tools to navigate a hostile, judgmental industry while maintaining dominance.
Puff got one of the hottest DJs off of Hot 97 because she wanted to put up a picture of him getting his pants pulled down.
Finally, Diddy's own art and lyrics hint at private struggles and desires. In Hope by Blood Orange, the narrative of vulnerability, longing, and fear of love is on full display. Critics argue it's art. Others see confession. Importantly, there's no public denial, a silence that speaks louder than any statement. Psychologically, audiences respond because authenticity in vulnerability contrasts sharply with decades of alleged manipulation. And that silence, it's a mirror reflecting decades of power, fear, and calculated concealment. The question now is, when influence and secrecy intersect, who really has control?